Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. And welcome, a third welcome, to 2025, because this is my first sort of new filmed video of the year. Anyway, I've still got the Christmas decorations up in the background, but don't worry, irrespective of the day that you see this on, those will be gone before 12th night, of course, in line with tradition, and good luck. Anyway, not that I'm superstitious or anything. So, we're going to talk today about my Christmas present. I got given this wonderful Wingnut Wings kit. It's the AMC DH.9, or the Airco DH.9 as they sometimes call themselves. A very beautiful, and from all accounts a really good plane, but let down by its engine, which was a bit underpowered. We'll talk about that more later. So this is Wingnut Wings kit, 32nd scale of course. They're kit number 32035, so it's the 35th iteration. I just wonder if we have actually a date on this. I think this is one of their later ones, isn't it? Judging by the date. I think 2014, so it's relatively a later one. Yeah. Very heavy, very solid box. Excuse me. Let's read to you what it says on the side. The AMC DH.9 bomber, it says bomber now, I read it was a bomber, fighter bomber, but anyway. It was intended to be an improved replacement of the highly regarded 275 horsepower V12 Rolls-Royce Eagle powered DH4. The DH9 utilised many proven DH4 components such as the wings, undercarriage and the tailplane. As with so many Great War aircraft, the tail of the DH9 is intrinsically linked with that of its engine, and this being the Siddeley DZ Puma, which never consistently achieved the promised 300 brake horsepower. In actual fact, its output was more like 230. Oh dear, that's 30% down on what it should be. And it proved to be staggeringly unreliable as well. Oh dear. Nevertheless, DH9 was put into mass production with 11 different manufacturers, along with its deeply flawed Puma engine, meaning that the British bomber squadrons would have to make do with it, or nothing at all. Yes, this is a bit like the tanks in when they arrived on the beach at D-Day, isn't it? Oh, certainly in North Africa anyway, in World War II. But anyway, I'm digressing. The first units to go into action with the DH9 were number 98, 206 and 211 squadrons and the newly formed RAF in April 1918, because of course it was the Royal Flying Corps before then. Then the shortcomings of the Puma engine immediately made themselves known. Although several improvements were made in the following months, the DH9 soldiered on until the armistice and beyond, serving post-war with the RAF on occupation duties in Germany and in Africa. It also saw widespread foreign service in the Netherlands East Indies, Greece, Poland, Spain, Australia, New Zealand, India, Russia, Bolivia, Chile, Estonia, Ireland, Persia, Peru and South Africa. Gosh. As well as extensive civil use as a passenger aircraft. How about that? Very nice write-up. Well up to Wingnut Wings as usual standard. Let's have a look at these nice images on the side for you. Here we go. So we have got, what's that? Comerford. I haven't got my best glasses on today for this reading of small print. Comerford in June 1918, and we've got 144 Squadron August 18, just before the end of the war. Then we've got the post-war, nice post-war scheme here in 1919. Another one post-war, HNAS. Hellenic, that's the Greeks. The Greek Navy, I believe that is. And then finally we've got Flight 108 Squadron. This is August 18, so this is still during the war before the end, before the armistice. So there we have it. Now, of course, you all know that this Wingnut Wings kit will be going into the Lost Ark warehouse, where all the treasures, the greatest treasures in modelling history, are kept at the end, where the man will hammer it into a wooden box and wheel it away, never to be seen again forever. It's just the way it is. So what that means is, I won't be opening the bags, I'm sorry. That is the way of things, as Yoda would say. But I'll certainly show them to you. We've got many, many beautiful, beautiful bags. Wingnut Wings did this so well, didn't they? Lots of screws, lots of bags, all sealed, and so they will remain. it's essential. As I said something recently, that's my pension fund. Of course it is. Alright, and by the way, this actually came from another lost Ark container in Germany of all places, so it was quite hard to track down, I understand. Now we have, of course, the usual situation where we have got, zoom you in, got our photo etch, which is mainly the struts, I think it is, the struts and braces from the struts, and a little bit of the ring for the machine gun, for the gunner's machine gun, that is. Oh, which probably disappears to the bottom, it's not very helpful, is it? There we go. And then, as usual, Wingnut Wings did this photo etch really rather nicely. Didn't overdo it. And then again, I'm not going to take this out for obvious reason, but we've got the beautiful Royal Air Force markings. We've got the Greek Royal Navy naval markings, and yes, we know that Wingnut Wings they're actually produced by Cartograph. It actually says so on it, I think. Yes, it does. You can't quite make it out, but it does say it with my thumbs. So beautiful decals. And then we've got some more interesting ones. All those chevrons that you saw, I don't know if you can make that out. The chevrons are there, so that's the one for the post-war model. And then, I think we'll really concentrate today, as we often do, on the beautiful instructions, which we're very lucky today, they are not in a sealed bag. Some of the Wingnut Wings kits have them in a sealed bag, which you can't really open, but this is not sealed. So why don't I have a little read through here, and then I'll show you what the wonderful contents are, with some lovely pictures and lots of historical, fascinating data, I'm sure. Quite a bit of reading here, so bear with me. So it says, in fact, I'm going to change my glasses if you don't mind, he says, if I've got them to hand, and I haven't. I thought I had the glasses here, I don't know where I've put them, somewhere else. I'm not going to change my glasses. It says that the bomb was intended to, unfortunately, go from the DH4 intended to bomb targets inside Germany was one of the objectives. Alas, it was not to be, and the DH.9 proved to be a huge leap backwards, oh dear, for the engine reasons as described. It had differences with the DH4. Was the petrol tank was moved forward to accommodate the gunner. It's all about the centre of gravity, isn't it, I guess. As with so many Great War aircraft, the tail of the DH.9 itself is a very highly competent design, designed by Geoffrey de Havilland. And Geoffrey de Havilland, I don't know if it's going to tell us here, I may end up repeating myself. Geoffrey de Havilland, apparently the company Airco after the First World War, they were actually bought by the Birmingham Small Arms Company, and then the name was just dropped. But Geoffrey de Havilland himself went on to form de Havilland Aircraft Company, and he actually took quite a lot of the staff from Airco AMC. So obviously you already could see the writing was on the wall. Anyway, it goes on to say, a great design linked to, but unfortunately let down by its BHP engine. It was put into mass production with the silly DZ Puma. Never achieved the promised 300 horsepower. Just trying to gloss across what we've already read here. It was not even going to surpass the performance of the DH4, its predecessor. Well, that's not good, is it? Nevertheless, it was already in mass production with 11 different manufacturers. Despite the flawed engine, the British Scots was have to make do with it. The situation gradually improved due to improvements in production of the engines, and then experimenting with other different power plants. The first units to go into action in the DH9 were actually 98 206 211 squadrons. Typical problems that were discovered with the engines included broken valve springs, cracked cylinders, defective altitude controls, and the carburetors defective altitude controls on the carburetors, and this led to serious engine reliability problems, with frequently requiring a hasty landing in a German occupied territory. Oh, that's not good, is it? You don't want to be doing that. Toward the middle of 1918, the problems with the carburetors were overcome, which markedly improved performance and finally allowed a fully loaded DH9 to reach its intended ceiling of 15,500 feet. Several other improvements were made, such as adding bracing struts under the horizontal tailplane, adding magneto access door to the port side of the fuselage, and extending the exhaust manifolds to funnel the fumes away from the crew. I think they'd have realised that, wouldn't you? Despite, see, this is an aircraft designed by an aircraft designer, and then they get whatever engine they can get later, and this is the problem, isn't it? The engine manufacturers don't necessarily think about the design of the aircraft. Despite its numerous problems, the DH.9 soldiered on until the armistice and beyond, serving the RAF and all the other country. While there is a little controversy about the common colour schemes, including PC10 protective covering number 10 for the upper surfaces and the CDL, the clear dope linen lower surfaces, there is a great deal of controversy of what colour PC10 actually was. This is this old story, we've heard this before. Made from mixes of yellow ochre, iron oxide and lamp black pigments in various... It varied between olive drab and chocolate brown. Not much difference. Depending on the mix, it appears that early fresh PC10 appeared more at the beginning, appeared more olive drab, while the later mixes made it appear more of a chocolate brown. How bizarre. Yeah, you can kind of see on the artwork it's kind of ambiguous, isn't it? Plywood panels appear to have been painted in battleship grey or with PC10 equivalent, as were the aluminium cowlings, although some were left unpainted. Interior metal brackets and fittings were usually painted black. Exterior metal brackets attached to the ply areas of the fuselage also tend to be painted black, but unusually they were overpainted with the battleship grey or PC10 equivalent paint was then applied. Kind of make it up as they went along, didn't they? All the fabric surfaces exhibited a gloss appearance when new, which would weather to a semi-gloss or matte finish in service. Now I want to just make a comment that's just reminded me of something very interesting. Some of you who enter competitions might find this interesting, modelling competitions. When I was at Telford, I was talking to the gentleman who built a beautiful model, and I can't remember which bomber it was. It was one of the Germans. Was it the AFC? Can't remember now, but it was on the World War One German big black biplane bomber, and it was over the trenches, and it had got this beautiful sort of scatter pattern with little flecks of purple in it. I'm sure some of you might remember this because it's in a diorama over the trenches. It's beautiful work, a stunning model, one of the best you've ever seen for sure, certainly that I've seen. And last year we entered it in the competition, and it came third or something. And it was clearly, to my eye, a winner. It was clearly, the others were beautiful too, but this just had so many elements, so much effort, it was absolutely stunning. And I just couldn't understand how it could come third. And I mentioned it to the owner, and he said, he smiled. He said, well, thank you for that compliment. He said, but I was told, and this is very germane to this detail I've just read, he said, I was told that it was too glossy. He said, but I was going off actual photos, and I said this to the judges, but I was going off actual photos. Because obviously he queried it, you know, was there any reason it didn't do better? Yeah, it would have won, but it was too glossy. So it says there that they come out the factory glossy. I know this is a British one, so I'm kind of paraphrasing and generalising slightly. But you cannot take your preconceptions into a competition, because it just shows that there's such variation, as you just heard in that description. And the judges in these modelling competitions, and I'm not knocking any particular competition or judge, but it just shows they're making assumptions themselves, which are probably not correct sometimes. And that was a classic example of it. So, anyway, if the gentleman is watching, I hope he is. I feel very sorry for him, because that's no question in my mind that I would have awarded it first prize. Anyway. So it just goes to show, don't take things for granted, and don't assume what the finish, how matte it was. Depends when it was, you know. And especially these sort of aircraft, because they've got this canvas finish, and it will matte up quite quickly. Anyway, there we go. So wingspan is 12, nearly 13 metres, length of just under 9.5 metres, maximum weight 1.6 tonnes, which isn't much, is it? That's like an average car today, small car, small to average. Maximum speed 111, oof, that's not great, is it, really? Most cars can do that today. 3,900 manufacturers, so they made a lot of these things. And then it's produced from July 17, basically 2 years, to July 19. So you know, it should have been better because it's obviously clearly had a quite advanced design in terms of the plane airframe, and it's just let down by a poor, badly unreliable engine. And I believe later they used a V12 in them, and that just transformed it, you know. There might be more in here. Anyway, that was Richard Alexander that actually did the write-up. Very interesting. Ceiling 15,500, and yeah, it actually says 230 horsepower. Sounds a bit wimpy, doesn't it? I bet some of us are driving cars that have got that or more. You know, incredible. Alright, and you've got to power an aircraft, remember. Okay, let me zoom you in and we'll have a look at this and we'll really enjoy another glorious Wingnut Wings instruction book, which is like a piece of history in itself. So you open it up and I'm just going to move those aside slightly. You open it up and you get your sprue map, complete with showing you all of the decals. As I mentioned, the cartograph. Gives you the Humbrol, Tamiya or Mr. Kit. Mr. Kit, really? Mr. Kit? We don't have that, do we, in the UK? Anyway, obviously don't forget these are made in New Zealand, so they're very much focused on what's probably available there as well. And here we go, so building up your cockpit, and you've got, I'm going to have to zoom you in so you can really get the benefit on these, because this is what people like, isn't it? So, that's gone a bit too far. Here we go. So on the right, it shows the pilot's cockpit from restored DH.9, that's good, at the Imperial War Museum in Duxford. How about that? Have I seen this plane? I can't remember. I really need to go to Duxford again, I've not been for quite a while. So you're building up the floor with the pilot's control column. The grease pump, look at that grease pump, it's like a bicycle pump here. Grease pump. For the CC Constantinesco synchronization system. That's for the guns, I think. The gun and engine synchronization system. And then you've got the radiator lifting gear wheel. Radiator lifting gear wheel. Oh right, it's got this radiator that sticks down. I think they have to lift it when they're going at high speed or diving or in combat or whatever, and then they drop it when they're flying at lower speeds. How unusual. Then you've got all this gubbins going into your side panel, gunner's throttle, pilot's throttle, quite a lot of detail there. You've got the engine bearers and the front bulkhead, radiator pipe, the radiator lifting wheel. Isn't this bizarre that you lift and lower and raise your radiator? God, crazy. And then on the next page we have got nice picture of the cockpit with its rather sumptuous looking, there's actually two versions. There's a Lloyd Loom style chair seat for the pilot on the right, or you have more of a leather style. So you got a leather cushion one or a lightweight Lloyd Loom style. And then you've got your the Vickers magazine. It's a big magazine, look at this. Going in here for the Vickers gun. And then you've got the full instrumentation board going in here. And you've got, this is a camera, you see in the camera system. Downward pointing camera for observation purposes, target spotting, etc. Doesn't actually say, does it? It doesn't mention the camera. Very odd. Normally it would say, you know, observation camera. That's what it is. Then you've got all your sort of shrouding that goes around where the pilot and the gunner are going to sit. And then you've got, oh my word, look at this. Dear oh dear. Rigging, internal rigging. There's a lot of it as well. Gosh. Oh, I've got a headache. And it's nothing to do with the beer, I can assure you. It's just rigging. So yeah, you've got a load of rigging to do, and then it shows these beautiful colour images showing what how the woodwork should look. They've got supplementary oil tank and the throttle linkage going in here. And here is this, is that the radiator, the raise and lower radiator? I think it is. It's very strange that you have this raising and lowering radiator, and then we've got the Achilles heel of the whole aircraft, the Siddeley Deasy Puma engine. I don't know about Puma, I think it should have been called Puny, because obviously it didn't have much guts, did it really? So it's a straight 6, So you can imagine with the V12 it's going to have double the power probably, or nearly. Certainly a lot more. I'm not sure why they thought that that would be sufficient really. Especially late in the war. You can understand that sort of thing at the start of the war, but not later on when they knew what they were up against. Anyway, you're building it all up with your cylinder heads and all your sump and your main block going in there, and it goes in a fairly conventional way. Zenith carburetors, of course, but like in cars. Over here we've got our fuselage, and you're actually putting the skin of the fuselage on here, and the underside of the fuselage as well. And it has got here identification DH.9, unidentified, sorry, mocked up for presentation at Royal Marines Plymouth. Yep, okay. And then we've got safety belts. Those are the safety belts there going in. A couple of holes to drill for exhaust pipes, etc. The extended exhaust pipe, which of course it needed so it didn't gas the crew. And then it's got a 202 squadron one at the bottom here. Crashed on takeoff. Luckily not injuring the crew. Gosh. Gosh. Dangerous game flying these, I think. Very dangerous game. And then you got your fuselage underside now. This has got this bizarre radiator which is raised, has a raise and lower mechanism. And then some nice proper colour photos of it there. Your Vickers Mark 1, typical sort of Maxim machine gun, Maxim style. And petrol pumps, lots of details in there, fantastic. At the bottom we've got the installation of the Vickers Mark 1, and it goes on the left side in fact, doesn't it? So there's a sight tube here on the right, and then the Vickers itself is installed on the left. And there's a bonus of an aerodynamic fairing there. Then we're going to bring our wings in and the tailplane. Engine cowling. Oh yes, you can see that's at Duxford. I recognise the actual doors. So this is the one at the Imperial War Museum in Duxford. So that's worth looking at, isn't it? I mean, it's a very slender and elegant looking aircraft. It just needed a proper engine in it, didn't it? It needed a Merlin. That had been invented for another 10 years, 12 years. Was it 15? 15 years maybe. So, yeah, this is in beautifully restored condition, the one you can see here. So that looks like it's worth a visit at Duxford. You have a good look at this DH9. It is DH9. The DH9, because they've obviously got it there and it's obviously in beautiful condition from what they're saying. And then you've got all your struts going in, the wing struts and cabane struts. What else you got? Water tank. Water tank for low mounted radiator pipe. Gosh, look at that. And now we've got some lovely photos. Look at these. Now this is where it almost gets interesting. RAFM prepares to remove the water tank from a DH9. Asbestos? Question mark. Ooh, oh. There wasn't a lot of health and safety in those days, of course. I think anything goes those days. Taking it off the port cabane strut. Gosh. To protect it from the cord has been wrapped around the port front cabane strut to protect it from the hot exhaust gases. Right, where's that then? Is that visible? Oh yes, here. You can just about make it out. I don't know if you can see it. The photo. So they've wrapped cord around it because it's near the exhausts. Yeah. Interesting. Nose cowling has been removed from the DH9H, and the airman now appears to be removing the bolts which fix the water tank brackets to the centre section. Yeah, they often have the water tank in the middle of it. I mean, they were actually very well designed, these aircraft were. They were very well packaged. You know, you think how complicated an aircraft is with an internal combustion engine. They did a good job of it, didn't they? Okay, so that's that. Then, zooming you out again. And then we have got our top wing going on and the tailplane going in. Gravity petrol tank. So the petrol tank is actually installed in the top wing with the look of it, or one of them is anyway. Is that the only one? I can't believe it is. And then we have you can actually see it there, the little points, the little arrow, the lower half of the top wing. And you've got your rudder going on the tailplane there. Note the wooden control horn fairings. It's like a radio control model, isn't it, with those control horns? Very basic stuff. And then over here we've got our undercarriage going on there, with the landing gear and the undercarriage struts and the undercowling you're putting on your ailerons, and they've got wheels and wheel covers coming in, of course, and it shows the angles here, very detailed images showing the correct attitude of those undercarriage gear. Note the radiator retracted into the fuselage. So in the two photographs, if you look on the left, the radiator is lowered, and then in the first photo on the left, and then the middle photo you can see there, it's retracted in. Bungee cord suspension detail here. Incredible. But at 1.6 tons, it's the weight of a car. It doesn't require, a great beefy like carrier deck landing undercarriage that they have today. And then you've got a huge oil tank there that goes under the fairing. Again, very well designed and faired in, beautifully done. Tail skid going on as well. And then we've got this exhaust which they talked about, because initially it was gassing the crew, and they had to have an extension pipe for the exhaust. Is that extended? It doesn't look very extended to me. I think it was initially blowing straight back though, straight into the faces, which is crazy. And then the high radiator water pipe and the low radiator water pipe are featured there as well. And in fact, yes, here's the excuse me. Here are these exhausts I was just talking about. Standard one and the extended one at the bottom. See that? Which blows past the crew and out. And then we've got a little bit of photo etch here. A couple of rings. I think they're rings, basically adjustment, like little portholes in the side cowling. And are they breather pipes? It might be breather pipes. Oh, no, I'm wrong. Carburetor intake pipes, in fact. They're very, very crude, aren't they? Just a big tube, really. Gosh, okay. So it's the carburetor intakes there. So intakes on the starboard side and exhausts on the port side. And it's got Royal Marines Plymouth written on the side. Okay, and over here we're getting into the weapons now. As you can see, we've got some 25-pound Cooper bombs and a carrier. And then we've got HER, high explosive relay round bombs. I think they have a fuse, delay fuse on them, I think. Well, they're weird, these bombs, when you see them. Look at that. There's a whole load of different designs here. So you've got the HERL bombs, which are really like a fat little short bomb with big fins on it. Looks quite nasty. And then finally there's the high explosive Mark 1 bomb with big fins again, complete with carrier, which you can see here. Absolutely brilliant. And then we've got our propeller coming in here to go on. And you can see here some photos of the finished aircraft. This aircraft was an order for 100 DH.9s placed with MAN Edgerton and Company. So this is one of the subcontracting companies, MAN Edgerton, and served with 44 TDS Waddington. Waddington, okay. Note the very small carburettor pipes and the grey wall tyres. Yes, the carburettor intake pipes here, I need to zoom you in for this. Look how much smaller they are than the ones we just saw a few moments ago on the side there. They're tiny, absolutely minute. Got grey wall tyres. And then down the bottom, this one has been reportedly hit by flak. Looks like this might have been brought down actually, this one. hit by flak, and the engine stops. Obviously it's taken a bit of shrapnel on the engine by the sound of it, forcing the crew to ditch their camera and force the landing in neutral Holland, where they were interned. That's a bit miserable, isn't it? So much fun. I suppose that's the policy for both sides, though. They intern any combatants. Note the position of the fuselage cockade. Fuselage cockade. Yeah. The spiral marking can be seen on the port wheel cover. Oh yes, just about make that there. And then over here, we're moving on there to the final stages. We're going to put our top ailerons on the top wing. We've got our gun turret ring to sort out, and here it is. Look at this, complete with your Lewis gun. So it's a Vickers gun at the front, a Lewis gun behind. I always get them mixed up. But the Vickers is the one with the big cooling jacket that looks like a Maxim, you know. And then you've got a 97 round rotary magazine here, like a canister, disc shaped canister, typical drum I should say, not canister. Drum magazine, and there's your ring, complete with all its photo etch going in there. Nice, isn't it? And then, oh, this is when I get really cold feet, me now. Oh, no. Yes. I'm going to build this one anytime soon. Oh, fear. You can smell my fear from there, probably, can't you? Look at all the rigging. Ah, look at that. Beautiful, though, isn't it? Look at, isn't it? It's a very imposing plane, isn't it? It looks right, though, somehow. It's just a shame about this engine letting it down, because it's a good-looking plane. Very purposeful, you know. And then over here, says here, I'll zoom you a bit for this. It's saying that fitted with a device for collecting spent Vickers ammunition. That's interesting. And that's here. It's like a little, like a reservoir can for collecting all the spent shell cases. And the disintegrating belt wings, along with the colourful nose, indicates that this is a training unit. Yeah, it would be camo otherwise. Looks like late October 1918, when it was crashed, slightly injuring P.G. Hutton, just before the end of the First World War, that, a few weeks, 2 weeks before the end of the war. And then you've got your common stencil markings here. And then we get into the full marking details. Some interesting, got stripes here, so this is June 1918. That's got to be A-flight, it's got to be training, surely. With the stripage design, that'd be an easy target, wouldn't it? No, it isn't. It's a combat unit. Good lord. Well, rather them than me. I'm not sure I like that. Maybe the idea is to break up the pattern, because it's got that sort of battleship dazzle camo quality about it, hasn't it? It looks like it's there to sort of confuse the enemy a little bit and make its shape look different to what it is. Here are the photos of the real aircraft. It's got a fabric wrapped and doped propeller assembly. Cool. With asbestos, question mark. Cord wrapped around the extended exhaust manifold. That's to, again, not to stop it getting too hot. I'm surprised it doesn't set fire to the cord, really. Huh. This is the one that crash landed, look, in Holland that we saw earlier. Being repainted by the Dutch, just shortly after being repainted by the Dutch. The rudder fin and cockades have been overpainted with orange. Huh. How interesting. The cockades is the round ones, isn't it? How about that? Huh, interesting. The Dutch have gone to town here. Aileron balance control. Sorry, aileron balance cable appears to have been severed, resulting in 4 ailerons hanging downwards at the same time. Oh yes, so they are. How interesting. Huh. And then this bottom one, it's got the CDL underside of the wings has been overpainted by the new owners. This is the Dutch again. Probably in light blue. The face markings have been retained, as has, surprisingly, the A-flight letter under the oil tank. Huh. How interesting. Very unusual. And then here we've got 144 Squadron. After this, I think was operating out in the desert somewhere. Palestine, yes, here we go. So this is like the one that's on the actual box art, because this is clearly somewhere like, zoom back for this. This is somewhere like Palestine, isn't it? If you look very carefully, which I didn't notice straight away when I first looked at it. I was too busy looking at these exploding gun carriages, and it looks like it might be either Germans or Turks under attack here. Yeah, probably Germans actually. But that's in the Middle East, isn't it? And then here you can see it's basically saying there were 300 of these. Order was placed for 300 in September 1917, and they were shipped to Port Said in Egypt. Right, saw extensive action against Turkish targets. So maybe I was right the first time. Maybe it was Turks. Right up until the armistice with Turkey, the armistice of Mudros, on the 30th of October 1918. So they had an armistice with Turkey. What's that? 12 days before the armistice with Germany. How interesting. Huh. It's spent much of its time in Salonika with 17 Squadron before being written off in October 1919. Australian diggers, it's the Aussies here. Australian diggers in inverted commas, inspect a DH.9. Note the single HERL bomb mounted under the fuselage. It's £112, it's smaller. Tailplane bracing struts and the style of the carburetor intake pipes, which I think a different style again. And then over here, this is the one that was the training depot, training squadron, I hope so, because that stands out like a sore thumb, doesn't it? What a target that is. A mouth and square eyes. A mouth and square eyes have been painted on the nose. Look at this, I'll zoom you in. It's not that obvious when you first look at it, can you see? Here and here. It's more obvious in this picture actually. And it says, excuse me, square mouth and eyes have been painted on. It's armed with the Vickers machine gun, but in at least one of the photo it's not armed. Oh, okay, so it's supposed to be before and after they fit the machine gun sort of thing. Short Brothers built DH9s of B-Flight in 211 Squadron, seen here after it landed in the Netherlands after being hit by anti-aircraft fire near Zeebrugge on the 25th of July 1918. Let's see me back for this. Okay. The pilot, R.S. Good, flew directly to neutral Holland to seek medical attention for his mortally wounded gunner, H.M. Partridge, and it is believed that the dramatic fuselage damage shown here was mainly inflicted while trying to extricate Partridge. So they ripped the fuselage, look at that, zoom you in. They ripped open the fuselage, they cut it away to get at him because he was so badly wounded. Emergency. A bit like cutting your car with the jaws of life, isn't it? On the motorway. Poor guy didn't make it, of course. It's also got the spiral design on the wheel covers, you can just see there as well. Wow. Okay, and then you've got a couple of other rather interesting designs here in terms of camo. This sort of this is the Hellenic Naval Air Service, transferred to Mudros in Greece. Hellenic Naval Air Service, yes, I got that right. may have seen service in Asia Minor campaign. Okay. There was a celebration flyover of Constantinople in Turkey. Now, of course, that's Istanbul. Displaying the colours of the Greek flag on its undersides as well. Look, as you can see, that's the top, and that's the underneath. Cool. And then finally, we've got this 108 Squadron. 18th of August 1918, right toward the end of the war, RSS Ingram and AW Winkle were on a bombing mission in a number D7302 when they were attacked by German fighters and then hit by flak. England was forced to land on the beach at Ostend, where they were both made prisoners of war. Thankfully not for long, obviously 2-3 months at most. And there's actually photos of it having been brought down at Ostend on the beach. Look, wow, that's cool. Flight marking repeated under nose. White outline bottom wing cockades and how the doped fuselage fabric appears to be much darker than the painted ply areas. Being manhandled off the beach by the German captors. Note the bomb sight on the port side of the fuselage. Huh. Wow. And then finally, last page. Enjoying this. I always enjoy these. They're really good, aren't they? So interesting to go through this history. And it says Imperial gift aircraft presented to the New Zealand government in 1921, converted to carry passengers by the Canterbury New Zealand Aviation Company. Wow, how about that? Before being returned to the government in 1923. The New Zealand Permanent Air Force had it converted back to near original condition until the 1930s when it was scrapped. Gosh, that's cool. And then it's just pointing out various details here. You see some slight repair works gone on the side fuselage there. Serial numbers, etc. shown marked. Starboard view of it. Oh, I'm not sure if it has been repaired, it's just the way they've painted it actually. I think perhaps I'm wrong there. Interesting. Different style of carburettor pipes pointing backwards here, you can see. They're a bit more backward facing. And then the Berwick built DH.9. Berwick is a company, I think so. And this was captured on the 11th of July 1918 with R.A. Arnott and H.R. Whitehead being made prisoners of war. Note the position of the fuselage cockades. Various stencil and bomb release toggle. Yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it? The fuselage cockades in an unusual position there. And the bomb release toggle on the side of the fuselage. Okay. A manual release down the side. Got to reach out to release the bombs. And then we have got the AMC, original manufacturer, built DH.9 for the production order of 400 aircraft placed in November 17. With the presentation aircraft bigger, Parish number 4. And served with 211 Squadron until late August 18 when it crash landed in strong winds on the 7th of October 1918, and the crew of Stevenson and Lieutenant Retham were both unhurt. Wow. And then the heroes at Wingnut Wings that made this possible. Nick Moore, Ronnie Barr, of course Richard Alexander, who now runs Qatari, and the box art by Steve Anderson. And there we have it. So that's our DH.9. Fantastic instructions, I've got to say. Right up there with the usual standard. Fantastic. Always good. Always a pleasure, isn't it? Always a pleasure. Let's have a quick look at these sprues then. Can't get them out. That's the nature of things really when it comes to Wingnut Wings. We can have a quick look, so you have to forgive the reflections from the bags. Anybody complains about me not taking them out of the bags, send me £100 and I'll take them out of the bags, because that's probably what I'll devalue it by if I do. Maybe a slight exaggeration, but not that much. Anyway, there we go. So you've got all your little windscreens for both the front and rear crew. That's that one. Then we have got our rather the Puma, or puny as I'm calling it, engine, which is this straight six. Rather disappointing 300 horsepower, should be 300 horsepower, actually 230 horsepower engine, with all those tops of oil supply pipes, and you get your main block there, cylinder heads here, that lovely fine moulding that we've come to expect from Wingnut Wings is all here as usual. Absolutely brilliant. Does it have the extending exhaust on it? Is that it at the top? Doesn't show it on the box art, so it's thrown me slightly. It might be elsewhere. I think it's elsewhere actually, on a different sprue. Then we have our oops, we've got our cockpit sides. Again, well up to the usual standard. Absolutely lovely. Fantastic engraving in the areas that have got rivets in on some of these cowls. Brilliant. Super detail here on the side of the cockpit. Absolutely lovely. It's so nice, aren't they? Thing of beauty, really is. That one. And then we have our we've got the tail plane here. And we've got the rudder. And then we've got the beautiful little seat. See the cushioned seat there? That is impressive. And then we've got, as I said, there's two versions of the seat, isn't there? There's the padded leather version, or there's this Lloyd loom I've got the name of it. What do you call this chair? It's like a summer relaxation chair, Lloyd loom style, woven chair, and it's like cane almost, isn't it? I'm sure some of you that know more about it than I will correct me, which is fair enough. We've got the sides of the cockpit framework here. It's very beautiful, isn't it? It really is, actually. And you've got the other seat here that you can make it out. That's also got this beautiful contouring in it with the buttons in the leather. Absolutely fantastic. And we have got, we've got some fine detail here. Are those bombs? Just trying to figure out what those are. Those are very, very detailed, aren't they? Is that bombs? I can't quite remember from the instructions what that was. I think they're small bombs, like flechette style, chuck over the side. I have a feeling. And then we've got our beautiful prop propeller here. And you get your main struts here, supporting the wing between the two wings. You've got the fuselage panels, to zoom to the fuselage panels here. And I think that's the exhaust I was talking about, isn't it? Yeah, that was right. There's the exhaust, the extended exhaust here, which is quite, let's actually now see it in scale. It's pretty big, yeah, it's quite long now. Should get the exhaust fumes away from the guys, shouldn't it? Over here we've got our beautiful Vickers machine gun. Now, they do a very nice job with these, but if you've ever seen the ones from Gas Patch, I would probably recommend you get one of those, because they are like a 3D resin design, and they're absolutely gorgeous, it has to be said. And there we have it. So that's that sprue. Just leaves two, I think, left. Oh no, like three. We've got two that are identical, so we'll only show one of them, obviously, which is this one, on which we've got these rather impressive little bombs that we've talked about. These HERL bombs, these fat squat ones. Those are very cool, aren't they? Look at that. Complete with fins. And then we've got the bigger one, high explosive, which looks quite much more modern actually if I'm thinking about it. Almost looks like a V2 rocket in miniature, doesn't it really? And then you've got your little flechette bombs here that you can chuck over the side, but I think they actually had them in a little rack, didn't they? Look at those, whole set of those. Then we've got the ring. I think that's the ring for, is that the ring for where the gunner is? Yeah, that's the gunner's ring. Machine gun ring. And then we've got obviously the undercarriage here. And you've got some struts, got your ailerons. and you've got your Lewis gun here. 2 Lewis guns in fact there, I think. That's beautiful, love it. Nicely detailed there. And then last but not least, sadly, we've got the main wings. And they are really nicely done. You can see the fine detail there, which is pretty sharp. You can see all the, so you can see, perhaps the flags are not helping us in this particular case, but it's got the stitching detail all the way along where the canvas is on both sides, and it's actually more apparent even underneath. Can we see that? Especially here. There we go. Stitching detail there. They're gorgeous, those wings are. They're really nice. Quite a big plane actually, isn't it? As I mentioned when I was looking at some of the images in the of the finished model actually. It's quite meaty. Yeah, you can see there's some fairly major stitching present. Absolutely stunning. Well up to Wingnut Wings as usual standards. Incredibly, that's now just coming up to over 10 years old, 2014. Incredible kit, absolutely gorgeous. You know how this is going to end with me saying it gets a score from me, a very, very predictable score. He says, trying to get the box on. A very predictable score of 10 out of 10. Well done, Wingnut Wings. Shame you're not around anymore. Beautiful addition to my lost ark. I'll now hand it to the security men to wheel it away, hammer it into the wooden box. You know how this ends. You know how this ends. Anyway, there you go. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you found that interesting and pleasurable to see that. Definitely worth trying to get one of those. Sadly, you're going to pay well upwards of £100, close to £200 I suspect for one of those, because I know that wasn't easy to get hold of, so not cheap and not easy to find. And that one came from Germany in this case. But thank you very much to the person who gave me that. Very much appreciated indeed. Yeah, I'm not going to build it right now, but that doesn't mean it's not very much treasured as a gift. And yeah, something beautiful to take out and talk about maybe again in the future sometime. Thanks for watching. Hope you found that was interesting. Please stay tuned. There'll be more coming along. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, give us a like, please. We're getting close to our 10,000 subscriber. Any day now, I think it'll be. Pretty soon we'll have the 10,000 in our pocket. So please keep watching, please keep subscribing. Really appreciate your support. And until next time, thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves, stay well, stay safe. Thanks a lot, and bye for now.